serious, people whose spouses have died and are happily remarried. What's it like? Do you still think about them? How does your partner feel about it? My wife passed away a couple years ago. It was a lot and not something I could even begin to put into words. Some really rough days. Even tiny things you don't think about will catch you off guard. Eventually met a wonderful girl who I just got it off with perfectly. We are engaged now, so not married yet, but in May of this year we will be, and I am very happy. I still show respect for my late wife. Make sure her grave is kept, and I have a lot of her stuff still that I am keeping. Pictures and whatnot. My fiancé is totally cool with it and is very understanding. When we first started dating, she asked me about her and wanted to know about her. I think that helped get past some things. But I am happy and can't wait to get married. After we graduated and both landed jobs in a city 2,000 miles away, I married my college sweetheart. We bought a house. Made plans. Didn't include cancer in that plan. And I lost her after 6 years of marriage. And an additional 9 years of being pals. Friends. Best friends, then dating. 3 years later I met a really amazing woman. Smart. Witty. Resourceful. Beautiful and passionate. We were married a year later. It was her first marriage, and she's older than me. But her parents, as they got to know me, respected and really appreciated my path in life. It's been 14 wonderful years now. I still miss my first wife, but not in a debilitating way. And my wife knows that. And respects it. My wife appreciates that my first wife was part of what molded me into the person I am today. Now I've been married more than twice as long as I was before I lost my first wife. We've had our difficulties, which led us to adopt our son, who is awesome. But both of our lives are better together, and better because of where we each came from. It's a beautiful thing. And somehow I know that my first wife would have been really good friends with my wife if she had known her. And my wife is really great with my first wife's extended family. We get together often. Yes. I hit the lottery with both sets of in-laws. I'm twice widowed now. It takes a good 5 years to get a grip on life again. In my own personal experience, the first one I try to date always seems to be my dad one, and then I meet the one I was meant to be with. You just have to give yourself to grieve and heal and don't rush things. I've had 2 great loves, but short-lived. Now once you the world I'm in, being twice widowed, it's a whole nother ball game. I'm at 15 years on my first loss and 5 years on my second loss. My husband died suddenly 4 years ago. It was hard. It took me a few years to pull myself together, but eventually I moved to a new city. Found a job and made a new life. I'm 33 now and I live with my so. We're not married, but talking about it. I still think about my husband every day. I miss him. I love him. It's hard to explain. My so tries to understand, but he can't. Which is okay. He doesn't like talking about past and likes focusing on the future. That's why I keep my past to myself, but I also keep it close. The hard truth is, I think I will never be as happy as I once was. And that's also okay. Because I am happy. Just not so young or naive to think that things can't fall apart in split second. It's bittersweet. Because there's always a bit of pain there too. Edit, grammar. Edit too. Thank you for the gold. Kind stranger. My husband died 5 years ago in April. We had a 2-year-old son together. I really struggled for a while. However, I eventually went down the path of healing. After lots of work and raising my son, I met an amazing man. We are engaged and expecting our first baby together. There are still days, rare, where I feel sad. But it's for what could have been. Every year, we send a LED Chinese lantern with a letter for our loss. My fiancé and I are incredibly happy, and he is incredibly supportive of me. My son and him are very close and have a really cool bond. There is life after death. But you need to do the work to heal and find love again. The work is painful and gritty, but totally worth the journey. It's weird sometimes. My wife passed away and just left me and my son together. He was young enough that he doesn't remember her as anything more than a picture on the wall. I reconnected with someone from college later on and we ended up getting married. She's one of the kindest souls I've ever known and helped me through a dark time. She's helping raise my son like he's her own and he loves her unconditionally. She's also very good about telling him about his mother to make sure that he knows about her and all she did for him. I didn't intend to get married again, it was just something that happened out of the blue. My son and I are very happy now, but there's still the what would life be like if the accident hadn't happened? My first husband died 8 years ago. When I was 29 and he was 31. Cancer. I'm now happily remarried and pregnant with my first child. My second husband knows that I will always love and miss my first. And he respects that even though I'm not sure he completely understands it. I kept my first husband's last name and will be buried next to him. We were high school sweethearts and there's no doubt in my mind that if he had lived, we would still be married. Hopefully with a couple of kids and a house somewhere quiet. But I love my current husband very much. He makes me happy. He's a good partner. We're very well suited to each other. And I'm so in love with our daughter already. I'll always be a little sad about what could have been. But I'm also very happy with what my life has brought me. My husband died 5 years ago. Just last Friday was the 5th anniversary. We were married 4 months and expecting our first child together. We both had one son from previous relationships. I sadly spent almost 3 years dating some of the worst men around. I wanted so bad to just regain what I had. I was scared. Alone. A mom of 2 and in the army. I didn't want to do it alone. But I was. I eventually gained momentum and strength and embraced being single. I met my now so last year. He listens when I talk about Josh and he supports me during the good and bad days. You've probably stopped reading. Meeting him has genuinely brought so much love and trust back into my heart. I lost my husband the 1st of August, 2015. 3 months later I met my now fiancé, Justin. He lost his wife the 11th of February, 2015. I have 2 sons, 7 and 8, and he has a daughter, 7. I did not intend to fall in love as quickly as I did after losing my husband. We were together 8 years. But meeting Justin was an instant lifeline. He understands me better than anyone else could. And vice versa. And the appreciation we have for each other is incredible. We both know how quickly life can be over, so every day we treat as our last. You can definitely fall in love after tremendous loss. In some cases you can even find a healthier, more fulfilling love. We have both said that we truly feel like we were meant to be together. We just had to go through losing our first spouses to find each other and to be the best partners we can be for us. My dad and mom met in high school. Married the week after. And we're married 29 years when cancer stole him. I knew mom would never remarry, even though he told her to go live and be happy. Even finding love again. She's now married to my second father for 7 years. This is his first marriage. Before marrying her, I accidentally caught him at my dad's gravesite talking to him and asking for guidance in loving his ladies as my dad had. I was 26 at the time. My second dad, stepdad isn't a title I like, adores my mom, me, and my daughter just as my dad would have. They talk about him openly. Just as he talks about his fiancée who died too soon. He joins our laughter with memories. Yet builds new ones too. There are still pictures of my parents among pictures of my mom and bonus dad. I know your question was for the couple. But as the child I can't even tell you how amazing it is for me. I feel my dad's presence never really ended. It was just redirected through a man who is nothing like my dad. But everything my dad would want for my mom and me. I think the hardest part for me is accepting that again. We had to experience loss. Although I feel lucky because I didn't experience loss that was a regretful loss or a loss through bad relationship issues. My fiancé passed many moons ago. I have since married a different, obviously, wonderful woman. My wife has never handled it well, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes I still get really depressed about it. And I'm not really comfortable talking about it with her anymore because of the responses of the past. I visit her grave every now and again. But I do it alone and don't tell my wife about it. I still think about my fiancé every day. As far as what my wife feels, I'm not really sure. I avoid the topic mostly. It is still incredibly emotional for me. Come to think about it, I don't really think about it much. As a man, I never cry about anything. But I still have a private cry, sometimes once a month. Sometimes a couple times a week. Sometimes once a year. My first wife died in 2011 at 26 years of a sudden brain aneurysm. I am very happily remarried as of almost 2 years ago. I've dealt with it and I'm never stuck in the past. One of the ways I know this is because I can look at the life I have today and definitively say I have never been happier. That is not to dismiss or marginalize my past life. It's just true. And I don't feel guilty about admitting that. As for how my wife feels about it, it doesn't really come up a lot and it doesn't need to. She isn't competing with a ghost. I had long since healed by the time we met and it just happens to be a fact about my life. I think about her a lot. It's been 4 years but I still sing to her. Outside of the obvious feelings, I mostly wish I could talk to her. Ask her opinions. Share smiles. The hardest thing about death is losing the person to the past. You evolved without them. I'm happily engaged now to a man. And he's very supportive. He respects her and the feelings I still have for her. And he knows I love him too. We live together. Happily. I got married in October 1999. My wife died 5 weeks later. I had a lovely relationship after that with a wonderful girl which lasted for a couple of years. She was aware of my past. But it was never an issue. We parted company because we were at different stages of our lives and needed different things. As for the second part of the question, I think about her all the time. I had sleepless nights thinking about her rotting and it took a while to stop doing so. Some years later, I met another woman and we eventually got engaged. It was through her that I realized I had never quite got over the loss of my wife. See, it wasn't her dealing with it. It was me. I felt guilt and remorse, none of it really justified, and it took her to point that out. We're okay now. I have to say that I initially resented her position on it. She shook me up. But in the end she was right. Time to deal with the grief. I'm not sure I've ever come to terms with my wife's death since it was so unfair. But I have certainly compartmentalized it in a way that allows me to give my love to someone else. And she is very supportive.